Greetings, nerds. This is SNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont. With me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How you doing this Thursday evening?
Thursday. It's also February.
Yes. The long year is over.
Yeah. It's January is done. 1 month down, 11 to go.
Yeah. January felt like a year, though.
January typically feels like a year and a month. It just has that feeling about it of never ending. I find January, April, July, and October.
Yes.
Always these odd months that just continue and continue.
Yes. You are spot on with that, my friend.
Yeah. But we're not here to talk about calendars. We actually do have a lot to get through. Starting off with some news, Dakota Johnson has been cast to play Madame Web in Sony's new Spider-Verse film. Okay, so my first question is now, this isn't Into the Spider-Verse, right?
That's correct. It's a standalone film, just like Venom and The Craven and Morbius.
And you lost me.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because they're, the headlines were like, first female lead in a Spider-Man film, and which is good. I mean, it's just funny we still have to have these kind of. I know you and I've talked about that before about these kind of headlines, but just getting to the character itself. So I was thinking about Madame Web, and Madame Web is of course a mentor to Peter. Mm-hmm. And also a mentor to the various Spider Women. But Madame Web's like, I'm just trying to figure out like how they're going to make this character a very dynamic character in the sense that she's clairvoyant and she's usually hooked up to the contraption with the webs and everything around her and sends people out to do things, And she's not the one actually out there fighting. So I'm just very curious to see how this is all going to work. And are we going to get, potential other spider people that she will direct and stuff. I'm just very curious on how this film's going to go. But
yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be an origin story.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
she's not going to be in the chair. It's about the path to get her in the chair. And what happens, and then she's gonna find Peter. Or Peters will find her, and yeah.
But
we'll see. I don't know. I mean, Dakota Johnson is a really good actress, so good for her. But it doesn't surprise me something like this gets now straight on the heels of like a major Spider-Man success.
Yeah,
I'm surprised we haven't had like 6 other announcements about various Spider-Man properties because they always do this. There's like a floodgate that gets opened as soon as something's successful. It's like, we're going to do this, and this. The one exception is the Batman because the floodgate got opened before the movie ever dropped.
Oh, I know.
If I hear the bat and the cat one more time.
Yeah, I am tired of it too. I'm just like, February 10 tickets go on sale. I will be first in line as far as on my computer buying my tickets from Fandango for sure. And because I really have, after I haven't watched any more trailers or anything, if it comes on during a football game or whatever, I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, I'm pretty much gone into a black box with any more trailers or stories about the film.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Moving on to some TV news, a Supernatural prequel, The Winchesters, a Walker spinoff, and a DC Universe set, Gotham Knights, have all been picked up for pilot on a station that we don't even know if it'll be around in a year.
Yeah, true. But these properties, so I guess the Winchesters is the prequel that Jensen and Daniil Ackles they developed, and of course that was it was a lot of consternation about that because Jensen actually talked about this on the Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast about how the community, how he just messed up and didn't talk to Jared about about developing that, and so you should definitely go check out that podcast interview if you are a Supernatural fan or a Jensen Ackles fan. Yeah, so there's that, and then this Gotham Knights is the story. The series. It's not the video game, but it's that thing that was announced in development a few weeks ago that got picked up the pallet. So, to me, with this news is okay. We got a DC property picked up, and of course, we heard a few weeks ago about the potential Justice University show with Diggle.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was still in development. So I'm wondering if that is still in development and this is not ready for palette announcement yet, or if it's sort of getting put on the back burner.
Well, let's just take everything with a grain of salt, because the number of CW pilots that have been picked up and dropped.
Yeah.
And reshot or just completely forgotten about and never be spoken to of again. So,
yeah.
Like always, we will talk about it when we see it.
Exactly. Yeah, but I just thought, especially given the uncertainty of the network but those properties could easily be picked up by either CBS or Warner, on their respective streaming platforms. So they'll have a place to go if they do get picked up to series. And let's just say the new owners of CW decide, well, we're going to pass on this content. Or they may be like, hey, this is great. We want to keep this content so we can have some new shows on our network.
Yeah. And CW is also right now just trying to figure out what it's going to do with his lineup, as they lost Arrow a few years ago. And they might lose Grant Gustin in a year. He signed on for this year, and now they've renegotiated, and he signed on for another year.
Yeah, I think. What's he doing? Well, hey, if I could go for a year-to-year deal and get paid $200,000 per episode, sign me up. Which is amazing. But I think at this point, I know there's been a lot of speculation whether that means that this is the last year of the Flash. And like you said, he did a 1-year deal with season 8. It could mean, and it could go any number of ways, just like we were talking about with these pilots. It could just be that, given the uncertainty, we at least get Grant locked in for a year. Grant may decide to pull Stephen and Melissa after year 9 and be like, nope, I'm done. Or, even though I know he said in the past he would like to go 10, but, Tom Brady said he wanted to play till he's 45, and we saw what happened this week. So, so Grant will, he may decide to do that. And also, I think deciding those 1 year-to-year deals just gives some career flexibility, because, 10 years in one role is a long time. And I know the other thing too is he capped the episodes at 15 in this latest deal. So yeah, I guess he's probably looking for opportunities to do other things, even if he does sign on, to the series for, with an additional year. Maybe
we'll see. Grant wants to return. Good for him. I think it has more to do with his expanding family than anything else. But we're not here to talk about the Flash. We will talk about the Flash when it returns in March. Yep. We are here to talk about Batwoman. And here's my question. So they're taking off for like a week or two, right?
2 weeks for the Olympics. So all the shows, so Batwoman, Superman and Lois, and Naomi are all off for 2 weeks due to the Olympics starting this week.
Okay. Wow, next week we really have to scrape the bottom of the barrel.
Well, we'll have to go back
to return to Boba Fett.
I was going to say what? Yeah, we'll have to do that.
No promises, people. No promises.
It gets better. I will say that.
Yeah. I'm not even going to start. Let's focus on me ranting about Batwoman.
Okay.
Yeah. So Okay, I kind of have figured out, like at first, when Marcus first came on the scene, I was like, oh God, no. And it was mainly because of just like that twist with the Joker. It wasn't necessarily Ryan having a brother that was the problem, but that's weird Joker twist. But during this episode, I mean, the Sophie side of the Sophie love thing aside, which the number of times where we have to hear those speeches, like, come on. Like, this is not something original. But what really annoyed me was the Jada Ryan stuff. Just because, like, I'm just like Ryan. I saw through Jada's act too. Why does it sound like you're acting? And maybe that's a criticism on the actress herself, but just her dialogue, I was like, there's so much inauthenticity right now. And it's just so melodramatic. And then that the line that drove me crazy was when she realizes like Ryan is Batwoman, and she's like, oh, now I know why Batwoman in his show, she was here the whole time. I'm like, who wrote this? Who wrote this? Because you always know, you remind me about that on Superman and Lois. But like, guys, go to the Superman and Lois writers' room and take some notes.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah, I had a love-hate relationship with this episode, because that line to me was also, because I was like, wait a minute, I thought she already knew. One, which was, because especially the way they had like set things up for this particular episode, that Jada was going to out her anyway, because she failed to get the joy buzzer at midnight. So there was that. What I did like about it, for the first time in weeks, I felt like the episode really had energy in a good way. I felt like, okay, usually I'm kind of the last few weeks I have been like fading a bit when I'm watching it, but for Cameras in his directorial debut, I thought he did a good job as far as just most of the episode. I will agree with you that the scenes with Jada, Ryan, and Victor were probably the weakest ones of the episode, for the things that you just mentioned. Even though I did think about our discussion last week with when Diggle showed up and Jada, wondering about things with their prior relationship, and especially when Diggle was like, I'm back with Lila now. So whenever they talked about the affair, I was just like, oh yeah, Diggle's Ryan's father.
Right.
But
I was just waiting for her to say, you don't understand, your father was Bruce Wayne. Like, I called it from day one. Just make me happy and say it.
Yeah. I think it's more. It could be Bruce. It could be Bruce. That would be the other angle. But like I said, I think this episode, as far as the Joker stuff, it didn't. It started to work for me now for whatever reason. I don't know if it was just the direction of it, or maybe bringing in the Kiki, who helped construct all his stuff. But I just felt like this episode was more cohesive than what we've been getting the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it was a cohesive episode. Now that they've removed Poison Ivy, but yeah. I was also just kind of like bored. It's just like, okay, got it. Interesting. Yeah. Mary's feeling guilty right now,
Yeah.
But I always, for some reason, Mary and Alice always like, I don't know if somebody like writes differently for them or something, but I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, Alice, why are you still in town? What
Yeah.
is going on? Why are you here? So I'm glad somebody finally called her out on that.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the whole thing, like suddenly she wants the buzzer. I don't really understand what they're gonna do with that to maybe make her more insane. To kind of reignite that villain, but we're only in season 3. That's a season 5 thing. So are we just gonna return to that Alice versus Ryan thing next season?
I think so. I mean, I think that's going to be part of it because I think they have played, this Alice on the part of Team Bat can only go so far, and I think that storyline is coming to a quick end. Like you said, Mary rightfully called her out. Like, why are you still here? Because because at this point she is sort of playing the role on Team Bat as the anti-hero resident, like crazy, resident villain who is the advisor on here's how supervillains think. And that's kind of her, that's kind of the role that she's playing right now. And now that you have a new Joker in Gotham, that whole dynamic with Marcus and Brian and Jada is taking center stage again. And I think early part of the season when we had that triangle with those 3 characters, it was very, very, very interesting with that. And then we got off into this Poison Ivy thing with Mary and Poison Ivy and Renee Montoya, and it just kind of started to drag, and now we're back to that core story, and like and now we have this MacGuffin of the Joy Buzzer to, like, with these last 2 episodes really trying to cure the new Joker, which of course we know that's not going to happen. I mean, that he's going to be the Joker moving forward in Gotham because every Batman or Batwoman needs a Joker in this particular part of the multiverse.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I don't really know where to go from here.
Yeah, well, no, I think no, it's fine. I mean, I think of the shows that we have been watching lately, I mean, I think Batwoman is good, but it's definitely 13 episodes, I think, is a good count for this series. It's doing things, but there's some of the stories that aren't as, they just sort of, some of the things very stalled, and there's elements that are very good, but I think it's it's good that they're coming to their penultimate, their finale. I think these themes can only go for so far.
Right. And as per usual, CW scheduling kind of also bit them in the behind because, I mean, you don't want to go on a hiatus right when you're getting to, like, when you have momentum.
Yes, exactly. They knew the Olympics were coming. Why would you?
Yeah, which again, like, did they give the memo to Superman and Lois writers before or after? Like, did different memos go out? Because Superman and Lois, like, they had momentum, but it also felt like an episode, like, we're gonna leave you here. We started something, but we're gonna go on a break, so we're gonna kind of loosely tie things up just so the break is more natural.
Mm-hmm.
This episode of Superman and Lois was good. Again, like they're building, but we also got the showdown between Bizarro and Clark again. And unfortunately, they had to put John Henry Irons like on bed rest.
Yeah.
Because, his chemistry with Lois was getting way too hot. Like, way too hot. So we're just like, we got to take him out. We got to take him out, but we can't put him out because, damn, poor Nat.
Yeah.
And what was interesting about this episode that I didn't really, I love it when these shows can surprise me, like, because we've seen so much of this genre, we're used to the patterns. But even though, like, this whole Lana running for mayor thing, I didn't one time think, oh, they're going to circle back to Sarah trying to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I even forgot about that. Like, that's so far, but it makes sense. And now they're also hinting, like, that's not the worst thing to come out about that family, though.
Right.
So I was caught off guard by that. I was like, oh, yeah. I was too distracted by the Lois and Superman.
Yeah. But that's the great thing, just again, compare and contrast with what we were just talking with Batwoman. They have like multiple like storylines going on, but there seems to be a through line through them all that connects to the core of this inverse issue with Super Clark and Bizarro, with Lois and Lucy, and now Chrissy, and of course the boys and their issues, and then Steele and Nat. I mean, everything in this town is interconnected, and they all serve to the overarching issues of the season. And I think that's why this show works so well. And you're right. I mean, Sarah's, with her suicide attempt, I had forgotten about it. But at the same time, at the end of the episode where they do confront the mayor and say, look, man, stay out of our family business. And he like just sort of throws like, watch yourself, Cal. I got some stuff on you.
Right.
And then he goes into the bar at the end there, and then she pours him the shot, and he's like, we need to talk. I was like, oh man. And when I think back to the first or second episode of the season where Clark and Cal have their discussion about relationships, and then Clark and Lana also did, and juggling marriage and life and everything like that. And then now we have this little nugget of infidelity with Cal, and it's just like, and I was like, man, this episode, I was just like, it's like Heartbreak City all around. You got yes, it was predictable what was going to happen to John Henry, but still, it was just like, damn, he's laid up. Clark's a mess. Lois and the whole cult and Lucy. Oh, it was just like, I was like, man, they're just ripping the hearts out left and right this episode.
Right, definitely. And then we got the boys running around.
Yeah.
We got one in a Quickie Mart using his powers. We got another taking drugs to get powers so that he can throw a football.
Yeah, that's not going to. And we both, and neither's, well, one's not going to end well at all, and the other, he's like, Grandpa, teach me how to use my powers.
Which, that whole thing was so natural, and I like that. I like how even though Grandpa's retired, he's still a part of the show, and his utilization in the show is really natural.
Yeah.
But the one line that bothered me was like, but don't tell anyone. I was like,
yes.
What are you, a pervert? Like, are you like, don't tell. I've watched too many things. Like, that's not a good sign. Okay. So don't say to a kid, don't tell anyone, because that's what we call conditioning. Okay.
Conditioning. And yes, there's that. And, just if we've learned anything in these shows, it's like keeping secrets, whether it's something like bad, good, or in between, never turns out well. And given how Clark would feel and Lois about Jordan, he's still trying to master his abilities and stuff, and I guess that's probably why General Lang did what he did, because he knew that Clark and Lois would be like, hell no, you're not training our son because of all the bad stuff that he did when he was in the DOD. So, and I guess that's why he told him not to tell them, because he knows that they would shut it down immediately.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I did have some issues with that piece as well. And then, and of course, Jonathan with taking the XK, and I love the way that they showed his reaction when he first took the hit, and like the powers just sort of flowing through him, and like the heightened sense and the abilities there. I mean, he's going to become addicted, so that's going to be a whole nother thing that they're going to have to deal with on top of all this stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So speaking about lies and exposing the truth, we get more details about Lucy. We see Lucy, which I like how they used the same cast as, or the same Jenna who played her on Supergirl. I thought that was smart. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I didn't even consider it, but sorry, my brother keeps texting me and it keeps throwing me off because he never texts me.
Yeah, I noticed you were distracted. I was like, everything
throwing
okay?
me off completely with my game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have Allie, Lucy. Just go for it, Will.
Yeah. Well, I thought about you because I knew you. Whenever we talked about this whole cult angle before, you were not sure about it and how it was going to unfold and all. But I guess with this cult, with this Allie, so I guess I was doing some prep, and I guess this Allie it's like a deep cut from the Adventures of Superman comic, and there was this character called Parasite who had very similar types of tendencies that that Allie's having here, and so the thing that really stood out to me, of course, was with picking up from last week where she was talking about getting Lois canceled, and then just how she used Lois's desperation to protect her sister against her, to expose Lois as a fraud with this story. As far as her journalistic integrity, and breaching that, to try to save her sister from her, and then again tying all these things together, like for example Sarah's her suicide, and then attempt, and then of course Lucy's wanting to go to a higher level of consciousness or whatever, but of course of course Lois calls it for what it really is, which was it was an overdose. So we're dealing with that trauma, and but how Allie used all of that, and then even when Lucy said, "Oh yeah, come up the room for whatever," and then they had the conversation in there, and it gets into again the motherhood issues come up full front and center with both of them, and how and seeing how how Lois views the mom, their mother leaving them, and how Lucy views their mom leaving them. I really liked the way that scene sort of played out, because it gives deeper context to what was going on with them, and then of course they did have the flashback to 5 years prior, between when Lois and Lucy were living together. Mm-hmm. As well. So there was a lot packed into those scenes, and then of course we get Chrissy, who's going undercover, and Chrissy's already questioning things about Lois and the business, and then also the journalism, and this whole the whole podcast that about Allie and the stories and all that kind of stuff. And Allie, no, I mean, she knew that was Chrissy in the room the whole time. Mm-hmm. And so how she manipulated that. So it's just a really solid storytelling as far as just showing how charismatic people can manipulate circumstances and really prey on vulnerable people who are seeking something. I mean, I think they're really handling this very, very topic in a very realistic and good storytelling way, even though we're in a superhero show.
Yeah, I liked how they even hinted at Chrissy, because when Lois shows up at work, she's like, "You've been here all night." Meaning all she has really is this job. So I had that in the back of my mind, and the moment she sent Chrissy in by herself, I was like, I don't know, Lois, you may have not thought this through.
Yeah.
That seems like a very vulnerable person that again can be manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am curious. It's weird. Lois did screw up to an extent, but I like how they're really walking a very gray line with this whole thing. Because it's not that she didn't completely lie. She just didn't tell the whole truth.
Right.
Either. But I mean, what does Lucy want from her? Yeah, I'll tell the truth, and then next time I'll let you die.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But in her mind, she's like, no, but I'm going to a higher place. I'm like, yeah.
Depending on what you believe on, we all are apparently when we die. Yeah.
But you're right. They are. I like you made a good point there that they are painting this as not a truly shades of gray as far as what Lois did, and letting us as an audience sort of sit there and see everything play out. And so so right now the way things are playing out is just like, yeah, Lois, you did mess up, but even though your motives were in the right place, but at the same time you did breach your journalism ethics here by not telling the full story and working things, not being a journalist, but being more, almost more like an opinion columnist that we see, right. and in how she handled the story. So, yeah, and especially when you juxtapose that with what's Clark's going through with Bizarro, and with Lieutenant Anderson and the other super people that they created to go, and his vulnerabilities at this point. It's really like I said, they're juggling a lot of different balls on this show and successfully telling good stories with each one of these characters.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going to move on to another show, Naomi. So with Naomi this week, everyone gets a lot of information. Mm-hmm. A lot of information, including Naomi, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. And Dee, D is, I have to say, I was noticing, I really like Dee, and I like the actor who plays him. Mm-hmm. I think he's doing a really good job as that mentor role. It is a bit creepy, and sometimes because I'm just like, so how long have you been waiting for her? And what's your angle here? And why is it that when Naomi and her friend were talking at the end of the episode, it was in the afternoon, and then when the guy comes to like take Naomi, suddenly they end up fighting in the football field and it's night.
Yeah.
Did anybody else notice that? I noticed it.
Yeah. It was a little bit of continuity issues there.
I was like, whoa, why? Why is it dark?
Or maybe the bounty hunter, like, yeah, because I know we went from like end of school to night.
yeah, definitely. But we do find out that so far they are not going with what happened in the books, and both adopted parents are human. So far, we don't know if there's another secret they're hiding. But we also find out that Naomi is from Earth 29.
Mm-hmm.
The 29 are from Earth 29.
Yeah. 29. Yeah. And I haven't made it far enough to know the significance of all the 29s. So
freaking 29.
Yeah, but Earth 29, but again, it establishes, and even Dee talked about it in Universe with the show, that there is a multiverse.
Yep.
And that there are superheroes in, I guess Naomi is on Earth Prime in this show. I guess they haven't established that yet, but clearly that is the case, whichever Earth she's on. And they, one of the things, we're talking about the books and stories and Dee and Naomi's adoptive father in the comics, at least, having a situation where they've had to work together. Maybe they had, I think they maybe they have adapted that story, obviously to fit the story, the narrative here, where there, I still felt that undercurrent of like tension there between the awkward. Yeah, I mean, obviously it was awkward dinner, but it seemed like Greg was hiding something more, and either his DOD connections, but the other thing where I was like, there's still something more going on here with Greg, even though we did clearly get the introduction of how Greg and her mom met earlier. But whenever he went out into the woods present day, and he saw the tracking device on the plate there in the woods, and didn't report it back to his superior officers. I don't know if it was he's trying to again protect Naomi, or if it's something else, protecting him, or maybe protecting himself. I don't know. I'm thinking my initial reaction is he's just trying to protect Naomi because of what he knows now with this DOD unit trying to search out for alien life forms.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened this episode that really caught me off guard, the love square is over? Question out of
Maybe.
Nowhere. Like, they took a lot of effort into establishing all of the points of the square to make her have one conversation with Dee about which again also came out of nowhere for me. What is happening? I was just like, oh, you guys had me and then you lost me.
Yeah. I think this is just a teenagers and flavor of the week. Maybe.
Well, don't tell him that. He came back to him. Well, that's what I'm worried about. I am so worried about like it being the flavor of the week, because for the past few weeks it has felt like each point of the square has gotten like some attention.
Yeah.
And we were all cool with that because Naomi made it clear she likes them all. She's not ready to make a choice. And then she makes a choice. And I'm like, huh.
Yeah. Well, I guess she's had so many things happen to her at all at once. I mean, she she's learned that she's an alien. She had that, she did go to Portland to meet up with Akira. And they had that whole conversation. with Akira, and because thinking back to Akira and Subaru's meeting a few episodes back, where he was trying to recruit her to find the other 29 and really go back to Earth 29 and finish whatever happened. And then now this week we see Akira talking to Naomi and warning her, like, look, it's a bad idea for you to use your powers like that, and really kind of playing a role, not quite like a mentor like Dee, but at the same time seems to be in a kind of protective role mode too, especially given that now that she's like out there using her powers and stuff, that means other people like this bounty hunter that was in the episode are going to start trying to seek her out and take advantage of, harm her, because I guess maybe there's some prophecy or something that they perceive that she's going to become this great superhero, and they're trying to take her out now before she comes to her fullest potential.
But it also sounds like there's something, I don't know if it has anything to do with her potentially being a superhero. I almost get the same vibes that I got you get from watching Starfire on Titans. Like, there's something else, like, because Zimbabwe, he thinks that, or believes that she's the key for them, the 29, to return to the planet that he destroyed. Clearly, he's her father. No. No, brother, uncle twice removed.
There you go. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that there really is something else with her specifically and her relationship with Earth 29.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like Earth 29 is looking for her to save their planet.
Yes.
Not necessarily to save our planet.
Yes, I think that's, I think you're spot on there, and that makes sense, because I think they sent her away so that she could be safe because of all the wars and things that were going on Earth 29 that Zimbabwe started, and I guess he tracked, he was part of the group that tracked. They all ended up on this Earth, and then now that he has indeed found her and knows her potential, he's like, oh yeah, we can't let her go back.
No, we cannot.
Yeah.
No, we cannot. All right, we got one more show to quickly talk about. Have you watched the latest episode of?
I have not watched today's episode, so
I can't talk to you about Peacemaker then.
I'm a week behind. I learned, like I said, between, with trying to do Titans and Doom Patrol the same day as recording, I felt like I was binging again, and I was missing too many things. But I could talk about episode 5.
Yeah, but I don't want to. I've moved on from episode 5. I did my rant about episode 5 last week. It's all about Eagly versus Vigilante. And you know what? That continues in episode 6. No, overall, like, this show, if you're not watching it, highly recommend. I was hard on it originally. Will was not. Will was right, as per usual. And this show has a lot of fun. And, every now and then it goes like, okay, James, take a step back. Okay. Yeah. But for the majority of it, it's like you're hitting your perfect balance here. Mm-hmm. Perfect balance. The jokes are hitting. The acting is on point. The story is it's taking some interesting directions.
Mm.
And I just, I'll never look at the show again, because I was talking to my brother about it over the weekend, and I'm like, just think about Peacemaker as Michael Scott. Like, just view it for that.
Yeah, I mean, the PowerPoint to me is just like, okay, that whole thing in the 5th episode. I know we don't want to go back to it because you're now ahead of me now. But yeah, I had to, whenever I saw it on the socials, I had to share it. I was like, they got to share this for people to see this and hopefully hook them in to like find out more like what was going on there between Peacemaker and Econos, because that was like probably one of my favorite bits of this whole season so far.
Yeah, well, see, there's some other bits. And see, that's the sad thing though, is that I do feel like, because I watch it right before we start recording, like everything that happened last week I've forgotten about.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Maybe we'll be able to talk about it next week since our CW shows are going to be on hiatus.
Yeah. I will be ready for 6. Well, we'll talk about 6 because you've already moved on, but we can definitely do 7 real time next week.
Never know. I might do a binge. Might familiarize myself with how we got here. But on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will and Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me on Twitter at SJ Belmont, SJVELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at SNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and visit our website, www.snnnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, geek out. You're welcome.